forward. Yeah. So we're proud to say that we do have representation from 5 African countries, which is something that is exciting for us, not just because of that number, but the potential for growth as well. And one thing that we understand that business schools are trying to do is also that parity between the male and female applicants, and trying to ensure there's that balance, which is something that we're proud of. And so hoping that we could even make it 50-50, perhaps even 60-40. Right, I'm all for that. And then the age range is something between 22 and 42. 42 is pretty interesting, but because we believe that people should be given the chance at whatever stage in life they are, we've made sure that that is inclusive as well. And we found that although you have that outlier, our average age is around 26. Our work experience is around 5 years as well. And it's interesting to see where some of our members work. We're diverse. We do have multinational employees amongst us, but there are equally local firms as well, and companies that naturally would not send candidates into business school, but people working there are really top quality candidates for business school education. And we're equally proud to say some of our members also school in this different schools. One instance is Hosanna, who made sure the connection happened between a school and us. So we're excited about the network we're building as well. And we've also welcomed admission officers from these various schools. And what is most exciting about all that is we are still growing, and we hope that that continues to grow until we build a network of Africans who are connected together and can come together to leverage their MBA for a more politically and economically inclusive Africa, even though that sounds like mouthful.
I think it sounds great, though.
Okay, great. We will just hold on for a couple of minutes, 2 minutes before we kickstart this. So this is how we intend to make it work. We would ask a couple of questions first around the theme of the webinar, and then we delve into the presentation you have for us, and then we round it up with a question and answer session that we would have in between. So while we wait, I think I'll just hand over to Franklin to just do a bit of introduction and speak to the participant about shortly what we do, even though I'd already recapped that, but to also provide them link to resources that they could possibly find really useful. Franklin, over to you. Franklin may be running into issues there, so I think I'll just call on Hosanna and let her do that.
Thank you, Sam.
Oh, all right. Okay, Franklin, please.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Hi, Cara. Hi, Gbenga. It's good to have everyone here. So I'm going to take a little time to tell us about Lane. So Lane is a virtual city looking to help young, motivated Africans leverage an amazing experience to improve their communities by getting higher education in the MBA program and multiplying their impact. So if you're young, looking for a very good space for you to network with different professionals and have an opportunity to scale your impact, Lane is a place for you. And we have different programs ranging from support in helping you ensure that you find the right schools. And that's why we have webinars like this. Also helping people find out like different part of the application that can be improved to ensure that they have the best application process. Also to ensure that we hold people by the hand and help them as they transition from a prospective student to an MBA student and to an MBA grad as well. And we're really happy to have you guys here. We hope that we have a great session, and you can join us on social media at City of Lane, on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, where we host several thought leadership articles and content that can add value to your life. So shortly afterwards, I'll be dropping the link to join if you want to become a member of Lane. And we hope to have a good session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Franklin, for that poignant introduction. We'll just delve right into today's webinar. First of all, I'd like to introduce Cara. Cara is, excuse me, Cara is the Associate Director of the full-time MBA Admissions at the Terry College of Business at the University of Georgia. And today she would, alongside Gbenga, who is also a student at the MBA program, alongside Ozana, who's also a student at the program. They will be helping us answer the question of why schools use GRE and GMAT. Now, a whole lot of people know that there are standardized tests to be taken, but the question, the answer as to why schools ask for these things is something that a lot of people do not pay attention to. And we hope that by shedding light into how and why schools ask for this test score, this requirement, or what you call element of your MBA application, we hope that people can take that knowledge into preparing for their exams and getting the scores that they need to get. So I'll delve right into it, and I think I'll start with Cara first of all. Just let's answer the question right up front. Why do schools ask for GMAT or GRE score?
Well, really, it is always been designed to help identify someone's academic potential. This is a very timely conversation, though, because there's a lot changing in our world, in our industry. And so I'm looking forward to kind of talking through that today, but also realizing that some people might not be prepared to start applying to MBA programs for fall 2021. Maybe you're looking a little further in the future. And what we know is that all of this can change very quickly. I would say, you know, I think each school is a little different, but I think it is just another data point for schools to make assessments on candidates. Oops.
Okay, so and I'm still going to come back to Gbenga to talk about his own test taking experience, but how does the Terry College of Business view the GRE or GMAT test score?
Kind of, I mean, in the same way, we do a holistic review, which I will talk a little bit more about in case this is a new terminology to anyone, but it is one singular data point. It can have impact on merit aid awards. That is one data point that we use to identify strong candidates for graduate assistantships and scholarships. But we look at other areas too of the application. So we're going to look at your undergraduate performance. Reasons that the test score would be very important to you might be if you do have weaker points in your application. We personally do not hold preference of GRE or GMAT, so we would just prefer that you practice. You take several practice tests for each format, and you know, take the test that you think that you will perform best with. We also know that there are limitations test opportunities, and so that is something to consider as well. And then the different test types, we could go into that as well, but if you're looking at other master's degree programs, not just planning on an MBA, a GRE might be a good fit for you. But a lot of schools are taking both the GRE and GMAT.
Thank you very much for that answer. Gbenga, now let's talk about your thought process behind taking either GRE or GMAT. What informed your decision?
Well, thank you very much, Sam. It's nice to be here, and well done on the great job you're doing. And I also want to remind you guys that I'm wearing two hats today. I'm wearing the hat of a student of Terry College of Business and also the hat of a Nigerian. So happy 60th anniversary to us. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, thank you on that.
Yeah, and just to corroborate what Cara said earlier, typically GRE or GMAT test is that opportunity to compare apples with apples. So I'm coming from Great Fair. Someone is coming from UI. Sorry, Cara, those are some of the top schools in Nigeria. And someone is coming from Yale and, different schools, all over the world. The GMAT, the GRE, it's that level playground that helps the admissions to be able to determine the competence of the candidate. So I think that's important to note. That said, to your question, my experience of GMAT or GRE, of course, if you do your research, and I think it's almost true, it seems like the GRE is a little easier than the GMAT. Okay, so I did the GRE. I did some tests with the GMAT, and I just felt, I don't think I want to waste my time now because the pressure of work and all. And so my experience with just a test prep, I just felt I don't have all the time. GMAT might be quite demanding. For things like the GMAT, for example, you don't have an opportunity to go back to your questions. So once you answer a question, that's it. But in the GRE, you can answer questions and come back, so little nuances like that can really impact on your performance. So it's not really that one is more challenging than the other. It's just that some people perform better with the GMAT. It just works fine with them. So it's just a lot of things to consider. But overall, I would say that, if you have the opportunity, try both and see which one you perform better with.
Thank you
That's
very
how
much
I
for being
see it
here.
here. And I don't know if I should also talk about, from my experience now in business school, the justification for taking the GMAT or GRE. I mean, I'm beginning to see more of the logic or the sense in schools asking potential candidates to take the GRE and GMAT. So I have some experience there, but I don't know if I should just keep that for now or go ahead and share that.
Okay, so I think I will take note of that experience,
Okay,
and then
cool.
we'll come back to it later on. But before we go into the presentation, I want us to just sort of delve into your own experience taking the GRE. Sort of, you mentioned that you were working. So
Yes.
the answer I'm looking for is, what was it like during that process? How many months did you prepare? And maybe you could wrap in some of the mindset that you had that sort of contributed to your success in the exam.
Sure. So, of course, before I took the exam, I had to do my research. I was trying to gain an understanding of what the exams required in terms of time and, the nature of the exam. And generally, I realized that many people, based on reviews, were given a range of 3 to 4 months. And that's what I also planned with. So for me, I studied for about 3.5 months. And what I usually did was get up around 4 a.m., study for like an hour and a half, and then come back from work. And sometimes I go to the library from work to study for another 2 or 3 hours. So overall, like 4 hours a day. And I was trying to do that consistently. Of course, I put in more hours over the weekend. So I did that consistently for, about 3 months-ish. And I think that put me in a competitive zone for my scores. And I would also say that I tried to do it twice. And I think that really helped me because it depends based on experience of my friends too. Some people did it the second time, they got a better score. Some did it the second time, they got a lower score. So, but taking it a second time is usually is the preferred way to go.
Now, thank you very much for that. I'm sure there's still more questions around that. And I see someone drop a question in the chat box. Yes, please do drop your questions in the chat box. Once the presentation is over, we'll open the floor for questions. And you can also get the chance to ask that question in person if you'd like to do so. So, Cara and Gbenga, I know you guys have a presentation for us. It's something you've sent over to me and I'm excited about it. Well, I mean, whoever did that design, good job and well done to the school for pulling that together. So over to you and I'll let you take it off from here.
Okay, thank you. Let me go ahead. If I could get access to share my screen, if that's
Yes,
fine.
you can now.
I can kind of, well, so my goal today is to share a little more about myself, share a little bit more about our institution so you have a little bit more context, and then obviously talk about test scores in a time where a lot of schools are going test optional or waiving test scores. So I think this is a great conversation to have right now. Let me go ahead and get my screen up here for you. Can you see it? And
Yes.
I'm actually turn off my video because sometimes the audio starts to break up. So let me just stop my video real quick. Okay. So again, my name is Cara Sonnier. I work for the full-time MBA program here at the University of Georgia at Terry College of Business. I appreciate Lane for inviting us, Hosanna for making the connection. I'm really excited to be here. I want Gbenga to talk a little bit more about his background, and I'll let him go ahead and do that now.
Sure. Thank you, Cara. So I'm a first year MBA student, obviously, at the University of Georgia, the Terry College of Business, and my concentration is in strategy and business analytics. And just lately, I'm beginning to consider adding another concentration, just based on how things are evolving, the opportunities I'm meeting out there. So I have a background in human resources, so I'm thinking to maybe just delve in a little bit into that, because you just never can tell where my path will take me. So that's me, and I'm so excited to be at Terry College of Business. I had more than one offer, full scholarship, all that. I also got an offer with one of the consortium schools, got the consortium fellowship, all that good stuff. So I experienced that phase where I had to decide, so which school do I go with? I'm excited that I made the choice to come to Terry College of Business. Of course, the first thing that I really was very particular about was the size of the MBA program that I would enroll in. Just based off of my experience in IFE, the way school was set up, we're always just lumped up, a lot of us students. And so I felt that to help my performance going back to school, a small size program will work better for me. And Terry just checked that box for me. So that was very important to my decision. And then, like, Cara is going to get to the point of the merit awards that Terry offers, but I want to flip the coin a little bit to talk about the alumni network. So that's one thing that also endeared me to Terry College of Business. I talked to a couple of students before making that final decision. It's the strong network that translates to Terry being able to offer the merit aid awards and scholarship. So that's really endeared me to to Terry College Business. And just one more thing, there's a couple of reasons why I eventually chose the Terry College Business, and I'm excited for that. But I'll just mention one more. It's the career management center support. That is really huge at Terry. In fact, one of the top recruiters also attested to that our CMC is really strong, and that's based off of his experience working with other schools. We just finished a conference last week or last 2 weeks, National Black Conference, and the CMC was right there behind us. They had a booth and they were engaging with companies and they were giving us the info to say, hey, have you tried this company? Talk to this recruiter. They're recruiting for this, you know. We had a strong backing even in the conference. So Terry is really a great school. I'm loving it. I'm grateful. I couldn't have chosen a better school. Yeah.
Gbenga, I'm glad to hear all of this. I don't usually get to hear a lot of this information until closer
Oh, really?
of the program for some
Okay.
I'm glad that you are with us.
Awesome.
So I've been working for the program since 2012. I've actually lived in the Athens area since about 1999. And actually prior to moving to Athens, I actually was living in Lagos for 3 years and attended the American International School. So if anyone there, I've heard a lot
That's good to hear.
This is good to hear. You're still going to talk about that experience maybe later on, but please go ahead.
Yeah, that's news to me.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I told that. I know I told Hosanna that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a great time. And from what I hear, Lagos has changed quite a bit since then. So I'm hopeful that one day I can return and visit and see the change and the growth that's happened there.
We'll be glad to receive you.
Yeah. I attended UGA as an undergrad, actually, and I also received my master's in HR and organizational development here in 2016. Athens is the town that the University of Georgia main campus is located, and it is continually voted one of America's favorite college towns. It's beautiful here, and I think it is that I have stayed around for so long. We're actually only an hour from Atlanta, so being close to one of the largest business hubs in the U.S. is really easy access for our students with major national corporations. But we have the benefits of having a smaller town lifestyle, lower cost of living and less traffic. So that's extremely beneficial when you are going to school full time. And I would say you can kind of see how the campus is looking. This is for the business learning community. So the building directly behind Gbenga's head is Corral Hall, and that is the graduate studies building. And it really is a fantastic facility that is new and very much appreciated now when we are kind of doing a lot of hybrid classroom instruction, virtual instruction. So it's been great to have. The Athens area is also home to 300 nonprofits, 31 private foundations, and a very thriving startup community. I think we employ about 250 people, or the startup community employs 250 people with $250 million in revenue annually. And we also have some major large corporations that actually are based in Athens, like Carrier, Hitachi, Caterpillar, EvoShield, and Eaton. So it really is a great opportunity to engage in the community as well with the various small businesses and nonprofits. So I like to share this slide, one, to show off Harry Dog, our mascot. Today is our first home football game, so it's a big thing for us here in the South and in the U.S. at schools. I also like to point out here that our program is a success because of our students and our faculty and staff that are really dedicated to our students' academic and professional success. That hard work was even reflected in the rankings, and also the fact that even with COVID as a disruptor, our 2020 grads were more than 80% employed 3 months after graduation. And when candidates ask what makes Georgia special, I tell them that there are many reasons, but 3 in particular that I'll discuss here. 1, faculty and staff are here to support you as an individual. We know that each person has specific values, ambitions, experience, and goals. And we're going to take the time to get to know you so that we can provide you with the career and academic support you need and connect you with the right alumni at the right time. That is kind of what Gbenga was talking about for the National Career Fair that he attended. 2, we want to get you out of the classroom, working on projects and activities that allow you to practice the knowledge you've gained in your courses so that you have the ability to have a positive impact on a company or organization while you're building out your resume. And then 3, we want you to get the most out of your investment in yourself. And we do that by providing generous merit aid and helping you achieve your career goals. Majority of our 2-year students do have graduate assistantships, which is a full tuition waiver and a stipend for the work that they do. All right, so now to get on today's topic. We'll talk about the value of standardized test scores. Standardized exams, like I mentioned earlier, have been long-time industry standard as a way to predict a candidate's academic success. Now, we do know that there are several ways to assess this. However, test scores can be an easy way to quantify this. You'll hear admissions talk a lot about holistic review as you're doing research. And really the idea behind it is that everyone has the ability, the chance to shine, because it means that decisions are not just made on one particular data point by one person. Usually there are admissions committees that are trying to do reviews of every application and hopefully in a non-biased way. And so, as you can see here, the GMAT and GRE is just one way of predicting academic success. Admissions committees will also look at your undergraduate performance, review your employment experience to identify ways that you have demonstrated quantitative skills, because that's really the key here that we're looking at. We want to make sure that you have the skills, or the quantitative skills necessary for you to succeed in the MBA program. At the end of the day, we're just trying to determine if a candidate will be able to be successful once they get here, and that we're able to help them in their career and get the most out of our program. In addition to this, we're also looking at quality of work experience and candidates' abilities to build relationships, network, and achieve set goals. And I would say this is not unique to our program. All of the industry professionals that I have spoken with and that I have built a network with, this is all very similar in the way they approach the application review process. So admittedly, there has been a lot of debate over the subject of required test scores. In recent years, and due to the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of top MBA programs go test optional or offer test waivers. However, I do want to point out that there are a few potential advantages to consider regarding taking one of these tests. First, a test score can help supplement your academic achievements and strengthen your application. So if you do have a weaker academic record, a strong test score will help balance that out. Second, if you are planning to pursue a career in consulting or finance, employers may require a GMAT or GRE score as part of their screening process. And to be honest, we don't know yet if there are negative consequences for students not having a test score. in this piece, if this is a piece of the employer's evaluation process. And I did see the question come up in the chat relevant to this. And I would say, you know, employers that I know are not holding a preference of GRE or GMAT. There might be some employers who are used to hiring MBA students that are more familiar with a GMAT scoring and less familiar with GRE, because I guess GRE has just been, I would say, in the last decade, but I would guess most employers now are familiar enough with GRE scores and most likely don't hold preference one over the other. But then third, a strong test score can provide an additional data point for the admissions committee when they're evaluating candidates for graduate assistantships and scholarships. So even though there are test waivers out there, you still might want to consider taking one of these exams if you have the ability to and you think you can perform well. And so, as I've mentioned, there are several schools, including us actually, who have taken action to assist applicants with limited access to tests. Both the GMAT and GRE are offering at-home exams, but these exams, unfortunately, are not available for all countries and have extensive internet bandwidth and computer operating system requirements. So it might not be feasible to take it online. Testing centers have limited appointments due to safety during the pandemic as well. So I've listed our criteria here for applicants to be considered for test waivers. Each program that's doing this will have similar but varying requirements. But you should know that they're all intentionally rigorous. We want to make sure that you're going to be a success here and when you're in the program academically, because we don't want anyone to struggle. And so be aware that schools could still require you to submit a score before being considered for admission. So think about that in terms of timing as well. If you make the decision to request a test waiver, you definitely want to allow additional time in case the admissions committee does ask you to take the exam. And so I would say, you know, if you're planning for fall 2021, you're probably looking to apply in rounds 1 or round 2 for most institutions, so that you can have the opportunity to take an exam if they request that of you before schools' international application deadlines that are usually early spring. So for us, probably what would meet criteria for a majority of you all would be 4 more years of relevant or progressive professional work experience, maybe an advanced degree. So if you already have a master's degree or a PhD or something, that would be a criteria. We do look to have each of our candidates who are requesting one of these waivers to meet at least 2 of these. More, of course, would be stronger case for you, but that's really what we're looking for. And then, of course, if you have strong performance in previous analytical or quantitative courses, that is helpful as well. Again, we're trying to identify your quantitative skills and your potential for success in the classroom. All right. So I'll stop there because I know that there are lots of questions, but I wanted to leave our contact information up here, and I can kind of go through this a little bit more. Is there, let me see, do you want me to end my presentation, or do you have anything else that you need to pull up on the screen, Sam?
For now, we could just leave a presentation while you turn your video on. So
yes,
we do have any reference.
I have a couple of things to also share, if you don't mind.
Okay, great. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I just want to go back to one of the fascinations for me for picking University of Georgia and that's the merit aid and awards. I'm talking to a Nigerian audience now. Yes.
I think it's
And
something you want to talk about in detail.
yeah,
So yeah,
yes.
go ahead, please.
And you know what the dollar is
An
to the
African
naira?
audience, because we have not only
Exactly, that's
Oh,
Nigerians
true.
okay.
here, we have
Okay, I'm
That's
sorry.
true.
African.
Yeah. What applies to Nigeria applies to all the African countries. But yeah, I'm speaking to an African audience. Um, and so, you know, if you've tried to do the maths and you consider the tuition for the top business schools, and you know what that comes to in our own currency. So it's even, if you're living in the US, a business school is expensive, but even much more when you're coming from a country from Africa. It's a lot of money, right? And so while it's good to consider rankings, I just want to caution you to not overthink rankings. Okay, some people are thinking top 5, top 10 schools. I'm here at the Terry College of Business, and every day I'm realizing that, wow, this is such a good school. But then sometimes you read some of these reports, some of them are kind of subjective, US News Report, all that. UGA is 37, Maccombs is 28. You know, all those things, you want to be very careful not to let them sway you off. Honestly, if you get a school on the top 50, thereabouts, you're still in good shape because the schools are good. So you want to be mindful not to just shoot yourself in the foot by overthinking ranking. I have one of my friends' brothers that got admission to I think Chicago, no, to University of Maryland, I think, and to Chicago both. University of Maryland gave him full scholarship, you know, blah, blah, blah. But he just wanted to be in Chicago booth. And so he went to Chicago booth. Number one, he struggled a lot because, of course, it's a top school. And so the quality of candidates there, you know, all that dynamics. So, but fortunately for him, he was able to get an internship at McKinsey. And it was really a challenge for him because he was coming from Nigeria. He was competing with guys that have been working for like 10 years. And so all that dynamics. And then unfortunately, after the internship, McKinsey didn't give him an offer. He wept bitterly. Why did he weep? Because he had taken a lot of loans from Nigeria. You know how many millions of naira that, you know, that comes to
Online.
just because he wanted to go to. I'm sorry?
Origin African staff.
Can you hear me? Hello?
I think she didn't know she's on mute, don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she didn't
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. I hope I'm not boring you. I don't mean to.
No, not at all. Please.
I'm just trying to, to be as practical as possible. Unfortunately, another thing that he realized was when he got the offer, the internship offer at McKinsey, he found that students from the University of Maryland that he had declined and the other schools that you would probably say are not as ranked, all of them were in the same, they were on the same page. And so what? So we got to be very mindful about the way we think rankings. And we should also know that many of these employers want diversity. So the same company that will go to a certain school would likely also want to get candidates from the other school. So, so I'm talking here for Terry. Terry is a great school, but I'm also talking generally, just to encourage us with the issue of rankings. And so back to the merit aid and piece. It's a huge relief if you can get to a school like Terry, that you have a high chance of getting a full scholarship. And I'm not saying anything new. Cara said it too, that many, if not most of the MBA students have some kind of scholarship, full scholarships, in fact. So you want to begin to rethink your choice of business school. So coming from, Africa to the US, you need those extra support that schools like UGA can offer to you. And so, like I said, I had more than one offer, full scholarship. But one of the things that also made UGA to stand out was also the grad assistantship. So I get to work part-time and also get a stipend. So that takes off some pressure off me and I can, kind of focus. But with the other school, even if you get a full scholarship, you're still thinking living expenses, all that. So Terry takes a lot of, does a lot of heavy lifting for you. So I'm representing Terry, but at the same time, I'm also trying to give you a big picture. So you want to consider these things in your choice of which school. Don't be too lost in, hey, it's McCombs, hey, it's Duke. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? So I hope that helps. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Gbenga, for that insight. There's still an after session where we're gonna allow you to talk more about that. Like that's totally unrecorded and off the mic kind of conversation that we have, where you can share all the insights and all that. So, but I just want to bring us back into the conversation that we're having. And you started off talking about your experience in the MBA program and how you began to see the logic behind business schools using GRE and GMAT. Could you please speak about that and what your experience looked like?
Sure. So I would also talk to you guys as to an African audience. I need you to remember that English is not our primary language. Even though it's a lingua franca, we have the education in English. But English language is not our father's language, right? And I realized that even more when I was preparing for the test. There's a way the passages are drafted. There's a way the English is structured that's a little bit different from how we speak English. So coming to the US, I had to begin to relearn how to write. There's a way you write in English that it doesn't really connect, right? And that's part of the transition that I'm still going through. So, but when you take exams like the GMAT or the GRE that has that component to it, it begins to train your brain, your mind on what you're going to face in the business school. So now in the business school, we're taking operations management, we're taking strategy, we're taking marketing, we're taking accounting. All these courses are case-based. So there's a lot of reading to do. And so as I go through business school, I'm beginning to see the sense in taking the GRE, because the GRE exposes you to that side where you have to read a long passage, you have to condense it, and then you have to, learn to, understand the question that is being asked. Is that same experience that is now helping with the case? So taking GRE or GMAT, even if a school waives it, I would encourage you not to waive yourself out of it. It's a further step to preparing you for business school. And then what I realized that, for example, marketing, I didn't realize the marketing was so quantitative based until I got into business school. So I'm also seeing how the qualitative side is wired up into virtually everything. Okay, even though on the average, I think Africans, we're stronger qualitatively. But even at that, so I had an experience. I don't know if we don't have enough time, maybe I just stop here. But I'm trying to be as practical as possible. So do I stop here?
Gbenga, I'd like for you to hold that. Just hold it so that more people can wait behind, and we're hoping that you can also wait as well once the session is over.
Sure.
Yeah. The next question I'd like to throw is towards Cara. Cara, you mentioned you scored at the American University of Nigeria. Is that correct?
I went to the American International School. I was in lower grades, well, high school.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the question is, what brought you to Nigeria? I'm sure a lot of people are asking that question.
I
as
was
well.
I was a child of an expat. So my father worked for Chevron, and so our family was
Awesome.
living there on Lecky Island for 3 years. So it was great.
Lucky, that's good.
And what was some of, if you could share one memory that you still hold on to, what would that be?
I think that one thing that impacted me the most was the diversity that I was exposed to. Here in the United States, that was not something at the time that we didn't have a large international population that I was exposed to here in the US. And so going to school with children from all different countries, not just Nigeria, was a big learning opportunity and something, I built lifelong relationships as a young child. This past spring, I traveled with our MBA class to Cape Town for their spring break trip, and I got to see some old friends from AAS. So it was good. It was something that I hope that I can do for my children. In the future. I hope that I can give them similar experiences.
Thank you very much, Cara, for that insight. The other question I have for you is, being an admission officer for a couple of years now, how would you describe an ideal TERI candidate?
We do have a smaller class size, so culture, understanding kind of the culture of our program and expectations of a student coming into our program. We're looking for someone who is not afraid to work hard and do things, get their hands dirty, as we like to say. Someone that's going to come in and I think in ways be scrappy and dive into the MBA program and make the most of their experience. And so we will be looking
I'm checking that box.
Yeah. We're going to be looking at things that you've done in the past. What makes, or what indicators do we see in your application that is going to tell us that you're going to come here and take every opportunity that's given to you and not just stay on one single path, and work together as a class. I think that is a big key as well. Everything that we do in our program is team-based. So you work with a team with nearly every class that you're in, and you have to be able to work with people and learn to work with people who you might not always get along with, right? That is kind of the nature of a true work environment anyway. So that's what we'll try to read between the lines and get through the application and the interview.
Interesting.
Can I chime in a little bit?
Oh, all right. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so just to corroborate what Cara is saying. So all over my application, I would think that you get a sense that there's something about entrepreneurship about me, and I just naturally am playing that out now that I'm in business school. So I applied to the nonprofit board fellow program because I've seen about one or two organizations that I feel that I can bring that passion and skill set to to bring value to. So yeah, what Cara said it's correct.
Thank you very much. And I'll just jump into the question by Ola. It says, how does the TERI MBA program prepare candidates for their future careers?
So there's a lot of things that go into that. Our career services office starts working with our incoming candidates in March or April before starting in the fall. They'll start off with the basics: resume, LinkedIn profiles. They'll ask you to do a bunch of informational interviews to help you get that practice before you start reaching the real interviews. And then we do a 2-week orientation prior to classes starting where it's primarily focused on career recruiting, that process, and kind of making the most of that recruiting process and what to expect, really. The Career Management Center is there to guide you every step of the way. They will be honest with you, they will be direct, but they are there to support you and make sure that your goals are being achieved. So, or doing the whatever they can to help you achieve those goals. Connect you with the alumni, they'll put you in touch with the correct industries or the relevant industries. We have events centered around specific career industries. We have large national career fairs that we support our students going to. So there's a variety of things that are added in. We do also have, Gbenga, is it called Strategy and Execution? Is that the—
Yes, Strategy and Execution, yes.
I feel like that course changes name every year, so I forget.
Yeah, that's what it is now.
But it is heavily communications based, and
Right.
those softer skills that are—
Suzanne is doing a great job.
Successful in that recruiting process. They'll be talking through, you know, business communications and conflict negotiation and conflict resolution, all those things that are necessary as you get into the workforce.
And can I chime in a little bit there?
All right.
Okay, thank you. So just in practical terms of what Cara shared, I had an interview with Microsoft about 3 weeks ago. So I reached out to one of the career management staff. And so what it did for me right away was to try to get all the resources based on the experience of CMC that could help me with the interview process. And so what did I do after my interview? We have a group chat, and it was during the National Black as well. So I just reached out to my classmate and like, hey, I had this interview with Microsoft. If anybody's interviewing with Microsoft, let's talk, right? So it just to corroborate the fact that the support is strong, both from career management to students and from student to student. Another example, I'm having an interview with Bank of America, the first round interview. So someone from the CMC realized that about 4 of us have been selected for first round. So they put up a Zoom meeting yesterday, and they got second year students who interned with Bank of America. And so they had a session with us, gave us all the tips, how to prepare, and you know, that kind of stuff. So the Terry has that record of creating support systems to help you to achieve your career goals, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And thank you very much for that response.
I think I want to jump in now. Like, I want to share my experience from a remote standpoint. I'm taking my program remotely. I want to affirm what Gbenga is saying. Starting the program, going to the foundation courses, and you know, our CMC get to tell you, once you have any message from a recruiter, straight up home to the CMC. They tell you what you need, how to prepare. They pull up all the alarms, all the resources you have. And taking my classes remotely, I've not been left out. You know, I've had like 5-6 different interviews with recruiters, and I had CMC there telling me what to do, even though I'm not in the US taking my classes. So you could see how much support you get, whether you're in campus or you're not campus, you know, with the new normal.
Right. Thank you very much for shedding light into that. There's a question from in the chat box, but I think that's one question we can trash out in the after session. So I'll just take note of that and ask Gbenga once that is over. But the other question I want to quickly jump.
Sorry to cut you, Sham. I think that question is a question that should be answered now. For me, that's one of the best reasons I chose Terry for international business. That is one of the core strengths for the Terry program, because Terry gives you full scholarship to go international business for 2 weeks in any different country you would like to go. So as an MBA candidate, you are every first year student transferring to second year, you get to go international business trip to a country and carry out consulting projects or whatever business-related project to do, and everything is all paid by the school. You just bring your passports and get the visa, and you go with your team. So that's one of the merits and advantage you get in the TERI program.
Cara, you have an ambassador in your hand right now, so you just want to hold on to her. Do you want to jump in and shed more light into what you've just shared?
Yeah, I mean, I think, world experiences are important. There are a lot of people in the United States that have never traveled overseas. So even more so, it's important for your classmates to go and have these experiences and see what businesses are like in other countries. In previous years, they have worked with companies in these foreign countries. They start working with them at the beginning of the semester in the spring, and then we'll work with them on site for 2 days while they're in country, and then deliver a final proposal for the project that they've been working on before they leave. So it's been a great experience for them, and unfortunately we won't be having one this spring, but hopefully everything will be back to normal for spring 2022.
Thank you very much. There are 2 questions sent in right now. The very first one has to do with analytical writing section of the GRE, and I presume the GMAT has something like that. How do schools view that part of the exam? Because it does seem as if everyone is just paying attention to the verbal and quant side of the examination.
Right. I would say, slightly off the record, I do think the writing portion is maybe a little less important. However, you don't want to fail it. That would be a bad decision, and that would be an indicator. So really, we're looking at consistent performance that identify the score that you get on the writing portion is what we're also seeing in writing skills on your application, and consistent with the other areas of the test as well.
The last question I have for you is, what's TERI's policy around submitting test scores at a later date? So say, for instance, is it possible during an application and then submit a test score later on?
Yes, I would encourage most people to just wait and submit their test score with their application. Generally speaking, as long as you are taking the exam and you will have test scores within a few weeks of submitting your application for a round, most likely your application would be reviewed with that application round. However, it doesn't necessarily, it's not a guarantee. So that means that if you apply for a round 1 deadline but don't submit a test score until 2 weeks later, there is potential that the admissions committee might push your application to round 2 for review. So it could just delay your decision for your application. So I usually just say wait and apply when your application's at its best. So that's at least how we would evaluate it, unless you have, of course, requested a test waiver.
Thank you very much. And as we round up, Cara, is there anything that you'd like to share with us before we close this webinar?
Yeah, I think you guys are all in the right place. I think that in the past, we haven't seen as many African candidates as we have liked, or as we would like. And I think that's one because of some of the challenges that our African candidates face in terms of access to tests and whatnot. So I hope that this is a platform for students to work together and get the information that they need. But definitely continue to reach out to admissions officers for help and guidance through the process. Reach out to current students, get an idea of what their experiences are like, because I think you face a particular challenge. In most cases, you're not able to visit a school before you make a decision on where to enroll. And so learning about the experiences that students in the programs are having is probably the most invaluable piece of that.
Thank you very much. And a question just crept in right now. The question is this: what is TERI's policy on application fee waiver?
We don't have anything specific. We do have some application fee waivers for historical Black colleges in the US and then military candidates, but we don't have any specific application fee waiver processes.
All right. Thank you very much for your time today. I really want to appreciate you and the team for agreeing to speak with us today. I'm sure many of our students will be reaching out to you very soon, and we hope that conversation transpires and proceeds into many of them becoming students of the Terry College of Business. So thank you very much as we round up today's webinar. I'd like to say to the